Okay, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Adele Wang. I met Adele many years ago at a 3D printing conference. She actually has more 3D printing knowledge than many people I know in the space, but as a financial person. So I think, so now Adele has worked with various healthcare and biotech companies, including a vaccine company, right? There's sometime in during the pandemic. So she has a very diverse background in terms of what she worked, but her primary job nowadays is fractional CFO. So I'll let you take away.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny. I hope you can hear me well.
Yep,
Yeah,
perfect.
so thanks for having me in your event today. Yes, I am very interested in 3D printing because of what it can bring to lower the cost of prototyping as well as manufacturing in a variety of industries. And I think it's kind of interesting because being a CFO, we're kind of also doing that from a capabilities perspective across a variety of industries. So I see 3D printing as kind of that vertical where it cuts across so many different industries that, it just makes it very interesting. And you can talk, you know, you can go on and on about the applications of 3D printing. So I think today I just want to maybe put a little focus on giving people some advice on how to start and grow a business. This is just from my experience collecting kind of the pitfalls and some of the things that I've observed from the past companies that I've worked with. Um, so. Let's see. So a little bit about me. So I have 19 years of experience across a variety of financial services sectors. So I was earlier in the corporate finance and corporate development group at Wells Fargo. I was there for about 5 years, and then I moved on to a corporate development group at a technology firm called Electronics for Imaging, and that's where I actually did a research on 3D printing to see if the company would like to foray into 3D printing, given their know-how in the printing space. But it turns out that these are very different kind of end user applications where the traditional printing, as we know it, has a very different technology, and it's actually a more precise high-end technology that concerns, not only like color, but also kind of the granularity that you drop onto the paper versus the 3D printing technology, which is mostly about kind of extrusion of the materials or lithography. So and also the end user application is also very, very different, where 3D printing is more kind of geared towards, I would say, kind of small prototyping applications, and it continues to be so. And the only mass manufacturing that I have seen so far is really in the dental space, where you have people like Invisalign that is kind of mass printing models of human teeth so that they can kind of apply the molds to the models. So anyways, going back to kind of my recent experience. So I have turned my focus to kind of doing private consulting as CFO across a diverse number of industries. I think my forte is in the ability to transform businesses quickly and to kind of maximize stakeholder value at all stages. So whether you are a company that is kind of just starting out, you need to build a platform to help organize your back office and be able to get your accounting booking done, or you're a business that's been running for a few years and you want to basically prepare yourself for a sale to another company or get investment from PEs or other entities. I'm here to help you. So I can definitely come in and, just help you do a variety of things to get you in shape for those activities. Some of my recent successes. So I am currently the CFO at at Gaetani Real Estate. We're a property management firm in San Francisco. I focus on financial modeling of operating plan, as well as kind of designing the annual strategic planning procedures to measure results and accountability, and which is very important at professional services firms because we don't have a concrete product, but we have people and processes. So we need to really figure out, what are the protocols, what are the SOPs that we need to follow, so that we can hold each other accountable. My other focus is also on improving data visibility. So basically, across kind of your company ERP system, your accounting system, how do we marry together the financials with your business performance and derive insightful conclusions on a monthly or a quarterly basis for the management to make additional decisions about the business? So that's my current work. And then previously I was CFO at Leo Berwick, which is a tax advisory firm. And I led the accounting and finance department there. And I oversaw the growth of the company for the first couple of years. And the company is continuing on as a tax advisory firm, but now adding on also the investment banking arm. And prior to that, I was VP of Finance at Surface Inc., where I did a sell-side preparation for Surface Inc. Surface Inc. was a prototyping company, so they did various different kinds of consumer product prototyping for kind of the Silicon Valley big companies. So you can think of kind of the big seven or the big nine big tech companies that were their customer, basically wanting to develop a new consumer product and coming to them to prototype that. They were acquired by PwC in 2023. And then earlier, the vaccine company that Jenny was talking about is Clover Biopharmaceutical. They developed a COVID-19 vaccine that was protein-based, that is less invasive, less harmful for the human body. They're based in China. They IPO'd in November 2021, and I was the chief of staff to the CFO and the COO. Jenny, how am I doing on time? Do I have time to go through maybe like five slides?
Yeah, you actually have all the way until 10. So
Okay, great. Got it.
yeah.
Great. So given what I was saying earlier, I just want to kind of quickly run through some considerations and thoughts that I have gathered to help you give you a roadmap as to how to grow your business or to start your business. So with that, yeah, so I think before you decide to start a business, I think it's very essential for people to understand what is it that you're selling, right? So I can divide kind of the kind of companies that I've seen into two categories, and this is a very high level division. So basically on the left-hand side, you have product companies, and then on the right-hand side, you have services. And they call for very different things, right? So on the services side, your reputation is important because you're dealing with people, your client relationships is important. You have a group of experts and specialists that makes up your employee base. And you're probably very customized in terms of delivering your services because you're trying to please your customers. And your customers come from a variety of different backgrounds and they may be requesting for different things. But because you're small, you're able to do that. And because your experts and specialists are so smart that they're actually able to deliver that. But on the product side, you wanted to actually try to do the opposite, which is to standardize. because to produce a product, right, you go through a lot of capital investment. You go through supplier relationships and distribution channels, which are relatively inflexible in terms of changes. So once you stick to a supplier, it's not like you're all of a sudden going to request that they make something else for you. So you want to be able to standardize as much as possible. And then at the end of the day, your brand is what is going to be really important. And that is synonymous with reputation on the servicing side. Now, if you do this well, right, then on the financials, you will see hopefully a positive EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. And there's a difference between these two kinds of companies. So on the product side, you may have a lower profitability, which means that you could be dealing with like an EBITDA of 10% to your revenue. But however, you may grow very fast because once you figure out that this cookie cutter is going to work for me, you can make many of these cookies at very, very low marginal cost. So your scalability may be very high. So you may be looking at greater than 20% growth over the short term. And then on the servicing side, it's a little bit of the opposite. So you may see very high profitability. So to give you an example, as a regulatory affairs consulting company, right? So you're helping companies develop drugs, you're advising companies to go in front of the FDA to get drug approvals, you're charging $600 an hour for your time. And your margin could be 50% or more just on gross. And then with your operating costs, you're probably looking at something like 30%. But this kind of work is very low scalability, right? Because you have to find another person just like you, who's just as smart, to charge that additional $600 an hour. So the growth is, basically based on kind of how you hire your human capital. So we're probably going to look at something like 10 to 15% in the long run. But is there a way to really say like this, one is superior than the other? No, not really, because there's a place for everybody, and the amount of money you can make varies across these. And notice that I'm just talking about percentages here, right? So the amount of money really depends on how many people do you have making these things happen, right? And by the way, I put kind of this note in the middle saying that, hey, look, we can improve all of this through automation, right? The ability to surpass this 30% EBITDA margin or surpass this 10% EBITDA margin is through automation. And that's where processes like 3D printing or AI applications, automating your back office, using an ERP system that fits your industry needs is so important in the long run increase of your EBITDA margin as well as your growth. Okay. And then the second thing that I really want to address for any people with a startup or a small company is being able to identify the ecosystem that you play in. I come across a lot of companies or owners or founders where they're not able to kind of tell me what is it that they do in 10 seconds. It should be something that you should be able to say in 10 seconds. So here's two things that I want to maybe just have you think about when you're in that situation, right? So you can think about it as industry, and you can think about it as industry verticals. So industry is a broad group of companies that operate in the same general space. So something like healthcare, energy, biotech. But however, this most likely is not the most helpful in describing your company because you're pursuing something niche in the existing value chain. When we talk about industry, they're most likely established companies, right? Like Pfizer, Genentech. They're already established. So, and they play in this space called healthcare or biotech. But what you're more likely to be a participant of is this industry vertical where you're capturing a way of doing things, right? So if you are a outsourced contract manufacturer, you are a 3D printing shop, you're actually providing a service that these industries need, right? So, and these industries could be in the automotive industry. You're, doing a 3D printing for that prototype for the automotive, or you're 3D printing a surgical guide to help facilitate a surgery process for a surgeon at this other medical facility. You are a CRO contract manufacturer to help run clinical studies for the pharmaceutical. So think of yourself as, am I a vertical or am I the industry, right? Because the vertical cuts across a lot of industries. So why do you want to think about things this way? So let me tell you. So a lot of the strategies that are built around growth or kind of thinking about how to expand revenue and reduce cost comes from this kind of thinking is, hey, is there another field that's parallel to mine that I can expand in? So for example, knowing that you can 3D print item X for industry A, but item Y takes only 2 more steps and that would allow you to service industry B to double your revenue. That's the kind of thinking that you need to develop by applying these frameworks of thinking. Okay. So I hope that was value added. And then I just want to kind of summarize the kind of funding. I think we talked about this in the earlier panelist group, but I just want to kind of summarize into this matrix, in terms of like a level of dilution, how easy it is and how hard it is to get, right? So obviously we want to start with the top left most square, so which is personal savings and friends and family. You should be dipping into that as much as possible to start. And then crowdfunding, pre-sales, this is really interesting. So pre-sales to early customer commitment. So like if you have a customer that is willing to give you, a deposit, a prepayment for future services, definitely do that, right? This is better than anything because not only does it give you money, but it also shows that people want your service, and you can use that on your presentation, in front of investor, talk about, the kind of customers that you have. And then business grants, which is a little harder. They take a lot of time. Bootstrapping, I put on the bottom because that's kind of assuming that you already have revenue and you're kind of cash flow positive, which is not always the case for a lot of startups. So all of that stuff in the light green, they're just kind of like free money. Well, I wouldn't say free money, but it's, there's not a lot of strings attached. You're not giving up equity. And then there's this category of other fundings like credit cards. There are 0% interest intro credit cards. A lot of them, out there for businesses. But you just have to watch out for the second year when the interest goes up to 22%. But it's a great way to kind of just get something started for that first year. And then SBA loans, interests are currently at 4%. So SBA stands for Small Business Administration Loan. That's a government loan. And then bank loans, online lending platforms like Lending Tree or Lending Club. And then on the right are kind of the more dilutive options, but However, if you've exhausted all the options on the left, that's probably where you need to be. Typically angel investors calls for about 10 to 20% of dilution, venture capital maybe even more, 20 to 30% likely. Strategic industry partners, so companies that are bigger players in this current industry may be looking out to, just research the market about, hey, what is new in this industry? And they might come across you as somebody that could be a strategic partnership. Or you may even just actively reach out to existing industry players and say, hey, I have this service that may be really complementary to what you guys are doing. Although I'm very small, so I need some support from you guys to kind of get this started. To get this off the ground. Would you be able to help me? Usually this kind of engagement comes with some kind of a ROFR. So basically right of first refusal that's given to the industry partner that may be considering you for an acquisition down the road, right? So basically, if you ever were to consider an acquisition, they would be kind of someone that would say, hey, I want to buy you, or I don't want to buy you, but they will be the first to do so. Accelerator, incubator, so they're very similar, but they are very instrumental in terms of giving you resources, and they also allow you to kind of be in this environment where you're amongst your peers. So basically the same industry verticals, right, that may be servicing different industries. Private equity family office, I put at the very bottom because these are later stage. So you must have, kind of already shown that, you are able to grow to a certain size, that you have gained momentum, and that, and that there is a increasing pattern of revenue and profitability. And that's usually when the PEs come in. So I'm going to just pause here. I know I'm kind of running out of time. Let me know if you have any questions.
Adele, this is an incredible presentation, but yes, you're right. We're kind of running out of time. Is it possible to share slides with the audience?
Yeah,
And
yeah, of course.
okay,
Of
yeah, if I can
course.
get a PDF or whatever format you have, I can share it in the Zoom event lobby and people can download it and take a look. And obviously, please leave your contact in the chat, and I think it's also on your slide here too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be great because we are running out of time and we have 8 or 9 startups ready to pitch. So thank you so much. I learned so much. I really don't know a lot of things. I started to think about this. So yes, thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.